Alright, sorry for the two-part lecture. So much art to talk about, so little time on the video to do it. So let's move on. We finished talking about Georgia O'Keeffe, and I wanted to show you some of her paintings. So, once again, as you look at her paintings, think about her use of lines, forms, shapes, the vivid colors. A lot of people thought that her artwork was very sensual. Some people even say sexual. Talked about she liked the out west, the desert. This is why we see some skulls. So, Georgia O'Keeffe. Next artist that we will look at is a American-born artist, a photographer, Dorothea Lange. Famous for her photos during the Great Depression, and you can see her pictured above. What happened is that the government wanted to see what was really going on in the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl and how people in America were surviving, or maybe they weren't surviving, and they hired her to go out west and document what was going on. And so people would move from homestead to homestead and just kind of keep floating out west for jobs. Her most famous picture is the Migrant Mother, which I will show you a picture of that. She was very successful in California and charged a lot of money for her paintings. And then when she got hired by the government, she really wanted to showcase the everyday people and their plights. So their extreme hardships and what life was really like for them. Migratory Mother, 1936. Her most famous photograph. A lot of people, this brought home what was going out in the states out west and how people were trying to survive during the Great Depression. Same woman, another picture, her trying to feed her baby. More hard-working people. This was an interesting picture. This is from World War II when we start the internment camps, and we will house camps for Japanese Americans, especially after Pearl Harbor, because our government was very paranoid of Japanese Americans. So, Dorothea Lange. Next, famous modern American artist is going to be Andy Warhol. He kind of creates his own style of pop art or popism. He gets inspiration from pop culture, mass-produced products. He will even paint soup cans and Coca-Cola bottles. What happened that inspired him as far as in soup cans and Coke bottles is that he was using comic books as his inspiration, and a lot of his artwork kind of looked very comic-y. And he didn't know this at the time, but there was another painter who was doing the exact same thing. So once he found that out, he didn't want to be accused of copying someone, and he didn't want anyone else copying him. So he asked his friend, well, hey, what should I paint? And his friend said, why don't you just paint everyday stuff? So he asked his mother to go buy some cans at the grocery store, and then that is where he will get his famous Campbell's soup painting that he does, and which I will show you. He was also very much fascinated by celebrities. I'll show you some of the paintings that he did. He does a lot of Marilyn Monroe. One of the Marilyn Monroe paintings I will show you is called 20 Marilyns. You'll see his use of repetition and symmetrical balance in the 20 Marilyns. Later, in really the height of his career, a woman will go to his art studio. He will create an art studio called The Factory, and it was kind of like the it place in the 60s. Bands would go there and just kind of hang out, like the Rolling Stones would just go to just hang out. A woman comes in and shoots him. He will survive, although he never is fully 100% after that. He has a different outtake on life. He will focus more on himself and images that are more closely personal to him. He will later die of after a routine gallbladder surgery. So let's look at some of his pop art paintings. This is early in his career, the butterfly. This is the 20 Marylands, as I was talking about, 1962. Use of repetition, symmetrical balance, vivid colors. This is classic Andy Warhol painting. Does lots of Coke bottles. The reason why he does Coke is because he said that was American. Overindulgence with consumerism and how everyone drank Coke. The president, Elizabeth Taylor, who was a popular actress at the time, it was America. And he would paint bottles and cans and people drinking it and all sorts of things. This was the famous Campbell's soup can that he did, 1968. Mick Jagger, Muhammad Ali talked about how he was fascinated by celebrities. Our final artist that we will look at today is also American. This is Jacob Lawrence. He was born 1917 and died in the year 2000. He was the first African American to really make it big, gain acceptance into the art world. His paintings are really different from any that you might have seen before. His images are going to be of important events in African American history. Not only does he just focus on the issues with African Americans as far as in like race and poverty, but he would also celebrate the culture and the heritage. So he's going to also blend primitive and Western European styles, and many critics didn't know what to dub him or call him, and so a lot of people called him the Black Modernist. So once again, Jacob Lawrence, first African American to really come onto the scene as far as in the art world in our modern time. His paintings are going to be very different. I'll show you some history of African Americans, some of their struggles, and how they moved forward, embraces their heritage. So here are some of his pictures. The library. You can see African Americans as the subject, reading. The builders, carpenters. So this concludes our lecture for today. Do make sure that you answer your learning target, and I will see you in class tomorrow, and we will talk further about our art project.